autumn sets in, Bengal gets busy finishing earthen images to worship the goddess. But who is the goddess? The Kenopanishad describes her as Uma, the embodiment of the knowledge of the cosmic reality Brahman. Do we worship knowledge? The Rig Veda describes her as a glorious darkness in the celebrated Ratri Sukta hymn. Puranic literature describes her as a Devi, the consort of Shiva and mother of Ganapati. Echoing the Prakriti of the Samkhya school, the Devi Mahatmya describes her as Shakti, the dynamic energy of the universe that abides in all the elements and enables the world to function. Bengal, which was primarily a conglomeration of tribal communities at the time of northern India's encounter with Vedic influence, came across Brahmanism only around the 2nd century CE after having experienced influences of Jainism and Buddhism. Contemporary cave inscriptions and other evidence indicate that images of Brahminical deities like Vishnu, Shiva, Ganesha and Surya had started becoming prevalent in growing numbers between the 1st and the 6th centuries. The Pala kings, who ruled Bengal from the 7th to the 11th century CE, were devout Buddhists, and under their rule, Buddhism flourished in Bengal once more. However, successive Pala rulers patronized Brahmanism as well. The exquisite artifacts of the era also include numerous figurines of the Mahishamardini, testifying to the Devi's influence in the region. Bengal had for long been a seat of Tantrism, and the earliest Hindu Tantra of the region dates back to the 14th century CE. The Kalikula school of Tantra dominated the Hindu stream of Tantrism in Bengal. The followers of Kalikula believed that Shakti is not to be separated from Brahman, Shiva. According to them, Shiva Shakti is a concept which is beyond dualism and can be realized only through experience. Legend has it that as Shiva in his rage danced his Tandava, 51 body parts of Sati, the Divine Mother, scattered across the breadth of the Indian subcontinent. Of these 51 Pithas, sacred sites that received the divine remnants, the 10th century Kalika Puran accords special status to just 4. Bimala at the Jagannath Temple in Puri, Taratarini near Brahmpur, Odisha, Kamakhya near Guwahati, Assam, and Dakshina Kalika at Kali Kshetra by Yadi Ganga in Lower Bengal. The stretch of bow-shaped land spanning Dakshineshwar village at the northeast end of the present-day city of Kolkata to Behala, known earlier as Behulapur, at the southwestern end of the city, was known historically as Kali Kshetra, the land of Kali. Some scholars believe that this lends itself to the name of the city that grew around it from the late 17th century. The temple of Kali is situated in the center of Kali Kshetra. The temple, which until the 15th century or so was nothing but a mound of earth, where the locals believed that the toes of the mother goddess remained buried, was surrounded by dense forests infested with prowling tigers and bands of dacoits. Located on the bank of the Adi Ganga, the original tract of the Bhagirathi Hooghly River, the temple lay on the hazardous route to Ganga Sagar, the famous pilgrimage at the mouth of the Ganga. The temple by the river was also on the bustling trade route to the Bay of Bengal. Traditionally, traders operating on those routes would offer prayers to various temples on the banks of the river. The temple of Kali was the most significant of these temples. References to the temple can be interpreted from the travelogues of Man Singh, the general of Akbar, and Chandimangal Kavya of Kobikonkun Mukundadas, composed in the 16th century. Some researchers correlate this site with Kali Grama, described by Ptolemy's Geographia in the 2nd century AD. The Bhavishya Purana also refers to a Kali temple in the Govindapur village on the bank of the Ganges. Some coins from the Gupta period have also been unearthed from the site. The influence that the Devi had started holding on the Bengali psyche can easily be gauged by the fact that when Krittibash composed the Bengali version of Ramayana in 1460, he replaced the episode where Rama pays homage to the sun god before the final battle with Ravana with the famous legend of Akal Bodhon, prevalent in Puranic literature such as the Devi Bhagavat Puran, Kalika Puran, and Devi Puran. As Shaktism grew in Bengal, it inspired a number of poets to compose poems on Kali. Mukundaram, known as Kobi Konkon, a gem of poets, wrote his chief poem, the epic Chondi Mongol Kabbo, in 1589. Towards the middle of the 18th century, the poet Ram Prasad Sen instilled new life into the style and turned it into a distinct genre of Bengali songs. Simple, almost rustic in style, Ram Prasad managed to convey some of the loftiest principles of Vedanta and Tantra in his songs to Kali. Ram Prasad was succeeded by a number of composers like Kamalakanta Bhattacharya, Roshik Chandra Rai, Ramchandra Datto, and Nilkanto Mukhopadhyay. But the Shakta movement reached its peak in Bengal, both in its approach of bhakti as well as in the articulation of the underlying philosophy, only in the late 19th century with the arrival on the scene of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who famously declared Brahman and Shakti are identical. It is a primordial power that has become the world and all living beings. That which sports with Kala is called Kali. Legends accord a special place to Raja Kangsha Narayan of Tahirpur for introducing Durga Puja in its current form in Bengal in around 1580. Kangsha Narayan, who was an influential courtier of Nawab Suleiman Karnani, turned against him and allied with Emperor Akbar during the Mughal annexation of Bengal with the Battle of Rajmahal in 1576. In recognition, he was accorded special honors, titles, and roles of influence during Akbar's rule. Subsequently, he was advised by his head priest, Ramesh Shastri, to perform penance in the form of Durga Puja. The first such grand festival was held in 1580 on a princely budget of rupees 9 lakh. Copycat pujas were soon started by princes in the neighboring principalities, including Jagat Narayan of Bhaduria. Around the same time, the noted Smarta scholar Raghunandan Bhattacharya codified a set of hymns and rituals in his Durga Puja Tattva that forms the basis of the annual worship of the Devi in Bengal till this day. The annual round of festivals in autumn started gaining in popularity in late 17th century. Bhabanando, founder of the Nodia dynasty, and Lokkikanta of Odisha, whose family transferred rights to the East India Company for the area that became Calcutta, are both remembered for holding lavish Durga Pujas. The practice spread to other small kingdoms in the region, including Gaur, Rajmahal, and Murshidabad. A century later, Maharaja Krishna Chandra Roy of Nodia transformed Durga Puja into a spectacle at the center of the annual cycle of festivals in Bengal. A commentator notes it is due to this that the rich are no longer afraid to flaunt their wealth before the British rulers. In Calcutta, Grand Durga Puja celebrations became the preserve of men who had made their fortunes in the new colonial regime. Gobindaram Mitra of Kumartuli and Nabokrashna Dev of Shobha Bazar led the way with their pujas. In 1757, Nabokrashna Dev added a Thakur Dalan to his house for a special Durga Puja to celebrate the victory of the East India Company over Nawab Sirajuddaulah at Plassey. The Deb household also engaged the best singers and musicians to perform and entertain. Throughout the 18th century, the main focus of Durga Puja was on grand, semi-public celebrations with entertainment and feasting organized by wealthy and powerful families and patronized heavily by the officers of the company. The proper balance between religious observance and carnival was already a subject of controversy. As a commentator noted in 1823, Durga Puja in Calcutta is better described as a festival of chandelier lamps, poets, nautch girls, or even of the wives' ornaments and clothes. The end of the 18th century saw the initiation of the process of democratization with the beginning of pujas organized by communities. The first noted instance being a group of 12 Brahmins in Guptipara in the Hooghly district. By the 19th century, it was the community pujas that emerged at the center of the annual festival. The celebration, though, still retained the character of a carnival at heart as deities began to appear in new styles. Today, Durga Puja is observed as an annual carnival that is a riot of colors, sounds, and taste buds. It's a festival that is celebrated by millions across divides of faith, caste, language, region, ethnicity, and nationality. The roots of this multicultural festival can be traced back to the 19th century when characters from Shakespeare's plays and Walter Scott's novels, the leaders of the French Revolution, Prince Albert, and even George Washington found their place among the goddess's retinues. But the joy and the spirit of the festival was such that even a committed believer in the unmanifested, formless Brahman, such as Rabindranath Tagore, commented in a letter to niece Indira Devi in 1894 that it is the very spirit of joy that touches every heart during the festival and transforms the mundane to the divine.
মা তুই আমার কেমন হারা নয়ন তারা হারিয়ে আমার অন্ধ হলো নয়ন তারা সারা বরষ দেখে নে মা মা তুই আমার কেমন হারা নয়ন তারা হারিয়ে আমার অন্ধ হলো নয়ন তারা সারা বরষ